Hey there, it's Jang here from ultimaterc.com and ultimatetamiya.com. Just getting ready to start the build of another Tamiya kit. This is going to be the M06 Pro kit. And of course, M being M chassis, it's the mini chassis. 06 being the latest as of fall 2011, the latest in their rear wheel drive series. Anything that has a even number on the end of it in the M series is going to be rear wheel drive. The odd numbered ones have front wheel drive. I'm going to be building this thing in M06M medium wheelbase. That's the 225 millimeter wheelbase. It does not include with the kit a body, so I'll be supplying my own body for it. But for this build series, I'm just going to go ahead and go through the whole chassis. And I've collected together some of my parts so I can actually get started right away with the first steps. And this is going to be starting out with the differential. Pretty common to start with the differential or differentials for Tamiya vehicles. Interestingly enough, the lube that they're going to be using for the internal gears, they're using anti-wear grease. Very expensive stuff. Very, very sticky. It's a high viscosity, I don't want to call it oil, grease. And that's actually going to provide just a little bit of positive traction action by using that instead of the usual ceramic grease. They do include ceramic grease with this set, with the kit, but it's not going to be used here. All right, so that's all greased up on the inside there. Let me tell you, I have a real love-hate relationship going with anti-wear grease. The thing is, it is amazing stuff. That cannot be denied. However, when you actually use it, especially the more of it you use, the worse it gets. It is so tenacious. It gets onto your fingers, and then anything that you touch becomes sticky for the next couple of months. So be very careful when you're using that stuff not to get it on anything that you don't want to have anti-wear high stiction properties for quite a long time to come, because man, it just spreads. There we go. So I was very careful not to get any on the outside of this gear, because the gearbox itself is going to be lubed with ceramic grease. It's a little surprising to me that the motor mount in the Pro kit is still plastic, and it only has a limited number of options for gear mesh for where to hook it up. Looks like there are only 3. This actually forms a bit of a cage back here, and it's decently well keyed together. There's a little bit of trouble getting these 2 screws in on this side, but everything keys together. And once you get the one side on, then the other side's a lot easier. Once again, just a light coat of grease, and again, does not need to be perfectly even, because these are all going to even themselves out as they rotate at different speeds in there. And that's all sealed up. That's pretty much a completed gearbox. Just needs to have the motor installed into it. They used their typical high tensile strength, somewhat brittle plastic, so it doesn't have any flex to it whatsoever. Now, in contrast to that, this flimsy thing right here, this parts tree has the parts for the suspension arms on it. And that actually does use the softer plastic, because it's going to be more prone to absorb impacts and not shatter when you hit something. And this is the rear of the chassis. It's mostly one piece. There's one piece that was attached on the top of here, but it's kind of like the rear of the tub. And you just have your main suspension pins, rear arms attached like that, stubby little rear arms. And then the whole transmission case is going to key in right there very nicely. This is all going to seal up on the bottom. Just make sure that that locks in place. Everything feels like it's in the right place. And we're good to start securing this down. Now for a motor, I'm going to be using one of my most used motors of all time, if not my single most used motor. It's not super fast, but it's plenty fast. It's got enough power in it to propel a big old short course truck. It is my Hobby Wing Easy Run motor, the finned can on it. At the very least, I'll have good acceleration, and hopefully I'll get some halfway decent speed out of it too. E2 brute. No, it's E2, part number E2. Wait a minute, that's not even what I want. It's for the short wheelbase version. There we go. That's what I'd be needing. Medium wheelbase. Be sure to always check when you're assembling things together if they have multiple options for assembly. Now check out this chassis extension piece. That's what gives you your extra 15 millimeters to go from a 210 to a 225 millimeter size. And I'm just gotta make sure that I line this up right. That looks right. And you can see that it's just adding on a little strip of chassis. Kind of like when you do a custom extended chassis where you just attach multiple ones together. That's exactly how they did it here. Very interesting little plan of attack there. And for the even longer wheelbase version, they just have an even longer little chassis extension. A little bit different way that it gets hooked up, but that's basically what they're doing. Short, medium, long. Now I can attach these together. Finally have one main chassis piece all put together. One congruent tub. There it is. Ta-da! Finally I get to use some of that beautiful blue aluminum bling that they include in the Pro kit. And it's gonna start off with one little ball stud. I'm gonna put a little bit of ceramic grease on the threads just to help it to go in there a little bit more easily. Same trick works when you're assembling turnbuckles. Just a little bit of grease, a little white grease on the threads, make it a lot easier. I have a video that I did, a little RC kit building tips video. That's what's in the title, and it's just about turnbuckles. It has a bunch of little tips for just making this process easier. Here we go. Two little turnbuckles. Now the hub carriers are marked. There's actually imprinted or molded in marking down in here, if you look at it from the outside. 2L, so 2-degree left hub carrier, so you don't have to worry about getting these mixed up after you've taken them off of the parts tree. Now here's something that does not amuse me. These are the outer suspension pins, and you can see that it has the lower shock mount. It's a ball stud end built into it. I guess this is, I think this might be one single machined piece, interestingly enough. But when that goes through, you gotta put an E-clip on the other side. I hate E-clips. E-clips must die. Whew. You hear me, Tamiya? E-clips must die! Oh, speaking of E-clips, I was just looking around and noticed that there weren't any spare E-clips. They only had just the one for each side. I started looking for more, because usually Tamiya will realize that E-clips have a way of flying away from you, and they'll give you at least one extra, usually a couple, maybe even a few. And I realized there's this whole bag over here that I had unfortunately neglected. It's an included hop-up set. It has titanium suspension shafts, they call them. They're the suspension pins, and I neglected to realize that when I was putting in these inner ones. You're actually supposed to replace these inner pins, main suspension pins, with those titanium ones, but those are in there pretty deep. I would have to disassemble a bunch of stuff to get in there, so I'm just gonna leave those there for now. But more anti-wear grease. This is my favorite place to use it, on dog bones, because it helps to prevent, or at least reduce, lash in the bones themselves, so they don't, you know, that distinctive sound that dog bones have as they ting back and forth. This helps to reduce that, and it helps to reduce the impact that's involved with making that sound. And by reducing the impact, it reduces the wear. That's why they call it anti-wear grease. And that just snaps on. And there's the rear shock tower. And with that, I'm done with the rear assembly for now, until it's time to build up the shocks. So coming up next, I will start building up the front and the front suspension, steering, and all that good stuff.